guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am doing this video from my bed because I'm just so tired. Since my NJ tube came out, I've been really struggling and I've been extremely tired. I decided yesterday to go volunteering, which is fine because I signed up for it when I had my NJ tube. I've not been on for a while because I've been struggling and I've been trying to look after my son as well, because he had his operation beginning of January, so after 2 years waiting. So he had that and I was helping look after him and do homeschooling with him for a while. But I'm gonna rewind a little bit here because my last video I was discussing with you guys about my genetic testing, and I can't remember whether I said that I was taking the kids or whether I'd already taken them, but I took the kids to see the genetics doctor, who obviously, because I'd been tested already, didn't need to give them testing, but he did check them all over, and he confirmed that all 3 of my kids actually have EDS, which I wasn't expecting. One I definitely knew had it. One was a question mark because we'd had I think it was 9 doctors say that she had it, and 2 doctors say that she didn't. One of them was a physio at Sheffield Children's Hospital, so of course you usually listen to them, right? But when I went to see the genetics doctor, he was like, they don't check children properly, and they can't use the Beighton scale for children either. Like, they need to have a thorough scan, and like, not a scan, but like a thorough scanning from head to toe. Like, they have to have the skin check, they have to have like a load of like observations done from head to toe. So not a physical scan, but a doctor has to basically scan the kids from head to toe, examine them, and then determine whether or not they have the condition. So it was determined that she did have it, for definite, and those 9 doctors that told us that she had it were actually right. She does actually have it. And my eldest child, I would have bet money on not having it, but it turns out that she does. So all 3 of them have it. Even my brother was told he had it, so he ranked them in order of severity. Now, my brother didn't actually have any testing or examinations done, but they could tell from how he could do certain things that he had it, but it wasn't his appointment, so they didn't basically tell him that it was confirmed or anything like that, so he was out the picture. So they ranked it from severity. So sorry for yawning, I'm just so tired. They ranked it from severity, so they said that obviously it was me, then my son, then my middle daughter, and then my eldest. But they said although it's not affecting the girls that much at the moment, and it's affecting the brother more now than it was affecting his sisters, the girls will have to look out for more things in the future, where men's tend to not get any worse. They kind of just stay as they are, and they just tend to continue on that path all the way through their life. So, which is probably why my brother has it, but he doesn't suffer with it as much as I do. So that was interesting to find out. So I was like, oh great, I was taking, like, this doctor was really funny because we take the mick out of stuff a lot. So I basically just turned around and said, oh great, another thing that women have to deal with more than men. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Like, but yeah, we had fun about it. So all the kids have EDS, and then fast forward to so they got told that in November. So I'm going to rewind a little bit further. I went to see gastro doctors in September. I might have mentioned this in previous videos, I don't know, because I don't watch my own videos back again after a while. So but I went to see my gastric doctor. Oh, so sorry for yawning. I went to see my gastric doctor on the 20th of September with my dietitian, and I'd had my NJ tube, which I called Nelly. I had Nelly for just under 5 months at this point, and he basically said that he wanted me to, even though he knew it was helpful and he knew it was helping me and stuff like that, he wanted to get me off the feeding tube, which I was appreciative of at the time, because obviously I didn't really want it originally, and he didn't want to give it to me, and the whole point of having it was to try and give my stomach a rest and then see whether it would work after the tube was removed, rather than stay on it. So it was agreed that a week after I went to see him and my dietitian, I was meant to put an order in for my feed to be delivered, and it was decided for me not to put that order in and for me to just use the feed up until when it ran out, and then that was it. I didn't need any more, so I was like, fine. So come the 13th of October, which was the day that I'd run out of feed, I was told to remove my tube. So my tube actually removed on the 14th of October, because on the 13th of October I was really poorly and I just didn't fancy yanking something out that might have caused me to vomit. So I decided to leave it in for an extra day, but I wasn't using it. I was doing the flushes until about lunchtime, and then I just stopped doing them. So the next morning I pulled my tube out, and do you know, like, a Cumberland sausage kind of goes like a swirl, almost like a cinnamon roll type swirl in it. And that was in my bowel. So the part that was in my bowel, in my jejunostomy area, was basically coiled like a cinnamon roll, twice on itself. So whenever it was blocking and they kept on saying it was positional, that was the reason why. So basically it flipped on itself and then flipped on itself again, so it was kind of like a swirl, and that's why it was blocking so much. And I was like, okay, now I understand why it was blocking so much. And when I pulled it out, because obviously I hadn't flushed it for a while, it was quite clogged as well. So but they do have a tendency to block anyway, which is fine. But mine was mainly blocking because of positional, nothing else. So I took it out anyway, and something you should know about when you get an NJ tube or any type of feeding tube is, before they give it to you, they'll weigh you on a composition scale, which basically measures your body mass from how much of it is blood, how much of it is water, how much of it is body fat, how much of it is muscle, and so forth. And then they will basically give you something that basically resembles a scale, but it's something that you actually hold in your hand and you squeeze a handle on it, and it'll tell them, it's usually done on your non-dominant hand, and it will tell them by moving the finger like a scale would do, how much muscle you have in your non-dominant arm. So before I got my feeding tube placed, I had a muscle mass of 21 point something, because I'd been trying to eat and everything, and my gastric issues they were bad, but they weren't overly too bad. Then I had my NJG placed, and then 5 months down the line, because obviously for 4 weeks I was on my tube, and then they told me to come off it for a few weeks while I tried an anti-allergy medication, to see whether that would help, and then that didn't help, so I ended up back on feed, and then I was gradually building feed back up because my bowels started cramping, so I wasn't on full feed and everything like that. So come 5 months later, when I was back on full feed, just before they took it off me, they did it again on that clinic day on the 20th of September, and I'd gone up to muscle mass wise by 20 to 22.9, I think it was. So I'd gained like a whole, like, I gained some, I don't know how it's measured, whether it's measured in kilograms or whatever, I don't know. But I basically gained it. And she was like, well, that's good, you know, that's something that we like to see, it's going in the right direction, like, that's really good. And I was like, great. So anyway, after my tube was removed on the 17th of November, this is after the kids had been for the genetic testing appointment, about EDS, and we all found out they had EDS. I went to see my dietitian, but my dietitian only. Now, bear in mind, my gastro doctor also said that he wanted me to see whether my stomach was going to work after having it resting for so long, but he was also going to refer me to IBS hypnotherapy clinics to see whether they could help, which I found very confusing, considering the fact that IBS is a stress-related condition where gastroparesis isn't. And obviously I've not got the problem with my bowels, it's actually my stomach that's not working, not my bowels. So I was a little bit confused by this. Anyway, fast forward to my appointment. I went to my appointment in November the 17th, and I saw my dietitian, and again I was weighed on the composition scale, and I was given the measurement for muscle mass, and I dropped from 22.9 to 8.8 on the measurement where you know, the one that you squeeze. It was also confirmed, which I'd already written this down in a letter to my GI doctor and to my dietitian, because I'd been keeping a food diary. It was also confirmed that I'd lost 5% of my body weight in them 5 weeks that my tube was out. So that was like I was losing a percentage of body weight every week for 5 weeks. And in fact, it wasn't even a full 5 weeks. I think it was like 4.5 weeks or something stupid. But I'd lost 5% of my body weight. So I'd gone from, I can't remember how many kilos now, but anyway, that's personal. But I'd gone, basically dropped from a certain amount of kilograms. I basically dropped 4 kilos, I think it was, in that time. So my dietitian wasn't best pleased with that, and she basically handed the letters into my gastric doctor, and then my gastric doctor basically said, you know, sent a letter out to me saying thanked for me for the letter, explained that he understood that I'd lost so much weight, it was confirmed by my dietitian, and he thinks that post-pyloric enteral feeding into my jejunostomy is probably is more than likely the only thing that is now the thing that's going to help me. So he wanted to see me in clinic on the 20th of December to think about replacing my NJ tube back. So I was like, fine. Anyway, from November through to December 20th, I had been increasing fluid intake. Now, for anyone that knows me really, really well, they will know that I don't drink anything. Like, I have a hard time drinking anything. And when I do, my body will hold on to it and cause bladder retention like you wouldn't believe. So, which is why I intermittently self-catheterize, because of the fact that my bladder just holds on to absolutely everything. My body holds on to it, my arms, my legs, everything swells because I'm holding on to this water. And I'd had my COVID booster, and I'd had my flu jab within about 4 weeks of each other, within the time of seeing my gastric doctor and my dietitian from November through to December. So I had upped my fluid intake as best I could. Some days I wasn't eating, I was just drinking. And I was drinking more than what I would typically drink. So normally I would drink like maybe 1 to half to 1 cup of tea a day, and I was drinking that plus drinking an extra drink on top of that, and then still trying to eat, and it was just making me vomit like a lot. So but for some reason my weight was kind of stable like for a while, because my body had to get used to the extra fluid I was drinking and things like that. And obviously us women, we also get what's known as premenstrual bloat, where we hold on to water as well before we have our monthly cycles. So now I've had a uterine ablation done many years ago, but it's looking like it started to fail, and since I had my tube back, my menstrual cycles had started coming back, but intermittently. And I didn't know that I was due to have one, but I still get the symptoms of the retention and everything else. Anyway, I went to see my gastric doctor on the 20th of December, and my weight had gone up by 1 kilogram from November. So he's like, oh, you've kept your weight stable and you've gone up by 1 kilogram. So, which, bear in mind, any single person in the world can have a plateau of weight loss and then eventually go up by £2 on any given day. Now a kilo is 2.2 pounds, and anybody in the world could go up by two to £3 per day, regardless of who you are. So this is not an uncommon thing. But my gastric doctor seen it as a really massive positive sign that I was doing better. So therefore decided not to give me my NJ tube back at that time. He basically said that he didn't want to put me through another endoscopy while he's waiting for surgical input for a jejunostomy tube, and while he wanted to also liaise with another gastric doctor who's more known for dealing with people with gastroparesis and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I said fine. I was a bit disheartened because obviously I was struggling quite a lot, and I was expecting my tube back. I was at the point of saying to him, like, you know, you said something about getting a biopsy out of my bowel because of my folate level being low, and had you have said to me today I need to do the endoscopy to do that, I would have asked you and begged you to give me my NJ tube back. That's the point I'm at the moment. And he turned around and said that he just didn't want to risk me going through that. A biopsy can wait for now. He doesn't really need it that urgently because all my other tests have come back okay, so he didn't want to like rush me through that. So I was like, fine. He said, but we should hear back off the surgeons quite quickly and this other doctor quite quickly. But then obviously Omicron took over and the NHS just went into a massive, even more of a massive backlog. And we're now on to, I think it's February 18th or something like that, I think. Let me check. Okay, it's February 17th. Almost close. So yeah, it's February 17th and we're now almost 2 months from when I saw my gastric doctor, and I am still struggling, and I've also dropped now by another 3 kilos in that time. So my weight had plateaued and now I've dropped by another 3 kilos. So I'm not coping. I am not doing great. My energy levels are pretty much at 0. Bear in mind it is now currently 2:05 in the afternoon and I am still in bed because I am just so tired. I got up this morning, I took my son to school, I came back, I got straight back in bed, and I've been here since. I'm struggling that much with energy levels. I just don't have the energy to even lift my head most days. I'm barely eating the bare minimum. I think, and every time I eat something that my stomach does not agree with at all, like, or eat more than what I can even tolerate just because I want to try and be normal, I will literally vomit it back. So I'm really having trouble with that. So I've written another letter. My gastric doctor wrote a letter back to me because I wrote a letter to him again a few weeks back explaining how much that I'm losing weight again and that I'm struggling. And his response back to me was, have you thought about a gastric pacer? They don't do it on the NHS, but you could go private for it. You might be able to get funding. Funding's not going to help anything because, you know, they wouldn't even give me funding to help with my EDS and shoulder problems that I have from my bust being too big. So there's no way they're going to give me a gastric pacer funding because that's going to cost too much. And obviously I'm not your typical gastroparesis patient because most gastroparesis patients are underweight, where I am classed as overweight. So I was a little bit concerned by that. So if I'm classed as overweight, they're not actually going to give me a gastric pacer either, because they're going to think that everything's fine and everything's normal when it's not. I've got the test results to prove it. But yeah, they're not going to give me funding for that. And to be fair, there's a reason why the NHS actually stopped using them, which I'm not going to say on here, but you can research it. But let's just say that they cost too much, and that's one of the reasons why they stopped using it. But there is another reason as well, and I really just don't want to be going through a major surgery to implant one of them when it's just as easy to give me something else, like a new medication to try, or you know, try the IBS hypnotherapy or whatever. Like I don't really care at this point what they do, but gastric pacer is just too much money, and it's invasive surgery which costs a lot of money, and I don't think that I would want to put myself through that, if you know what I mean. Plus it means you've got something that could technically migrate somewhere else in your stomach. So and after the last lot of wires that were put inside me, which was to ablate my heart, I don't trust them, to be perfectly honest. I really don't. Like, that was horrendous surgery, and I just don't want to have surgery again which has to insert wires into anything, because that was painful. So yeah, that's pretty much my update. I am so sorry that it's so long, but I've not been on for a while, so bear with it. If you've managed to get to the end of this video, please give it a like and subscribe. But yeah, that's my update at the minute. I have rewritten a letter back to my doctor, because he did also state that obviously he's waiting for the surgeons, and he didn't want me to feel like he was leaving anything out of my care. But with the current situation with the pandemic and everything, the upper GI doctor he wanted advice off is working in 2 hospitals, so he's really backlogged, and the surgeons are backlogged as well. So I have rewritten him another letter, because I did ask him to call me and he hasn't called me. So I've rewritten him another letter, including a food diary that I've been keeping since I last saw my dietitian as well. And I've also gave that to her as well. And I'm hoping that he will get back to me, because I basically just said, like, you know, I could be waiting a really long time. And I did say to him back in December that I'm happy for him to continue my care, providing he's willing to help me. And he knew that I was, like, towards my end of my tether back in December. He even wrote it to the surgeons that I'm, like, really struggling. So I don't know if I'm down as urgent or whether I'm down as routine. But routine, you're waiting up to 2 years for an appointment, and I'm not even on a surgical list yet. I'm literally just waiting for a surgical consult. So I could be waiting a really long time, and in the meantime, I've basically just said to him, like, would it not make my life easier and my weight easier if you just give me my NJ tube back while we wait? Because my doctor knows I'm struggling, my GP knows I'm struggling, which is why I said my doctor knows I'm struggling, my GP knows I'm struggling, my clinical practitioner at my GP's knows I'm struggling, my gastric doctor knows I'm struggling, my dietitian knows I'm struggling. And funny thing is, I actually called my dietitian about a week or so ago, and I actually asked her, left a message and asking her, is there anything else I can try that can help me? And she said if I was struggling as much as I was, some medical intervention was needed, and I would have to speak to my GI doctor or speak to my general practitioner doctor, and I had already done both. So something needs to be done, and I'm hoping he's going to give me my NJ tube back, and if not, I need him to explain why he's not doing that, because at the moment I am really struggling, and being in bed at 10:02 in the afternoon on a Thursday is not great, especially when my kid comes out of school in the next 40 minutes, and I've not been out of bed since I took him to school this morning. I haven't even took my morning meds because I've been asleep most of the day. And I wouldn't have took them anyway had I been awake, because of the fact that I just feel so nauseous all the time, that I can only take my morning meds roughly around this time in the afternoon every single day. So my body's hurting more because I'm missing out on certain pain medications, which are extra pain medications that I sometimes take. I'm missing out on them because of the fact that despite needing them, I can't take them because I have to leave a certain length of time in between them, and that's just not fair. So he knows all this. But yeah, that's my update, and that's why I don't have Nelly anymore. So I hope you enjoy this video. Like I said, if you've got to this point, I apologise it's so long, but thank you, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will be back soon. Can't say when, because obviously health takes over and so does family life, but I just thought I'd come on and give you an explanation of why I've not been on. But yeah, take care, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.